Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review for the Blacklist Season 10, Episode 5, The Dockery Affair, or as we like to call it, the Dockery Wah Wah Wah. Like, what was this episode, man? Like, this
Oh, woof. They spent way too much time on the killer in this episode. I couldn't care less.
this was a really, really weird episode. Like, there's a few good things in it. There's definitely a lot to talk about when it comes to Vesco, Reddington, and Wujing, but it is like this is the final season. We're supposed to be moving towards something. I really felt the small budget that the show has this season throughout this episode. Like Dembe's not even in it. Like
No.
it just nothing. It just felt weird. It felt it didn't feel at times like we were really even watching the same show.
Yeah, and it felt like Reddington was barely in it as well. We
Yeah.
spend so much time on this killer, that whole last sequence in his house with this girl. And, it was just like, it was going on way too long that I actually found myself near the end of the episode being like, where's Reddington? Where's everything going on with Wujing and all of that? And then, of course, Wrestler comes in as the voice in my head on the show being like, what's going on with Wujing? Like, do we know what's going on? I'm like, yes, you asked this in the last episode too, and
Yeah.
me as well. What is going on?
Well, got a tinfoil hat theory on that. We've got a lot, of course, to get into here, but before we do go any further here, we love doing the Blacklist videos with you guys. We're here every week breaking everything down. We've got previews. If you want to support us further, there is a button right below these videos that says thanks, and we greatly appreciate anybody who wants to give us a little bit of support through that. It helps to make these videos that much better, and we really appreciate it.
We absolutely do. And sorry, guys, that this video is a little bit late. Normally, you guys know we have these up on Sunday nights, and our previews come during the week a little bit later on. But we had some real life stuff going on last night, so it's up this morning. So thank you very much for your patience with that.
Thank you guys so much. And now here's the tinfoil hat thing on what's actually going on in this episode.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode and the 200th were probably shot around the same time. Like sometimes filming schedules get a little bit sort of wrapped up,
Yeah, they do.
especially, if you're doing 22 episodes in a very compact period of time. So I think a lot of the actors were probably busy working on other episodes. So they were just like, okay, we'll bring in some of these, guest stars and we'll have them do like this, that, or the other thing. It felt like they were just sort of stuffing this with a bunch of people who aren't really that consequential. And I'm going to believe that that is the reason why, especially because, I think personally we're probably going to see a lot of Dembe in the next episode, and that may explain in part why we didn't see a lot of him here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning of this video, we had so much about this killer. We had
Yeah.
so much screen time with Herbie, who obviously is being built up to be the new Aram, and he's going to be helping out with a bunch of other sort of forensic stuff and whatever. But like, for this being the final season, no offense to Herbie or anything,
Yeah.
he's a good character, but like, I just don't need to get to know anybody new that deeply.
Yeah.
Like, they've done a great job with Sia, where I know enough about her, but she's not taking over the whole thing, but it is taking away a lot of time from Reddington, Wujing, everything that's going on there, like how he's dealing with stuff. I mean, we've seen Reddington kind of floating around. He's at Cooper. He's staying over at Irby's. He's just all over the place right now. Like, I want to know more about what's going on there.
Yeah, I know they don't love to give us a lot of like insight as to what's going on in his head, but I think we need it for a lot of this stuff that's going on to sort of functionally just work. Like, what is really happening with Reddington to make him want to do this? And yeah, I mean, I think Herbie is a fine character. Like, I don't dislike watching him or anything like that, but we even had these scenes where you had Herbie and Sia together for like minutes at a time. And I'm like, okay, I like both of these characters well enough, but it's like we're spending all this time with like these two who we don't know, instead of like, could you have at least gotten Wrestler to go over that? Just like somebody who has some long-term familiarity with us.
Yeah, it felt very much like a filler episode with, a lot of time with characters that, like I said, it's the last season, guys.
Yeah.
Like, this needs to be kind of moving along. We're already 5 episodes in. There's only 22 episodes. Like, let's move. And so, talking about that. Okay, so last week,
Yes.
I had a tinfoil hat
Yes.
theory about what was going on with Vesco, that we had Reddington was kind of fattening him up, getting him ready to go in and get
Yeah.
some information from Wujing and bring it back. And that's kind of what happened. So we saw that, Wujing's guy had come been like, hey, you want to know some more information? Come talk to Wujing. And we saw that sit down. The sit down was very interesting because we saw Wujing be like, hey, just so you know, your guy Reddington, he's doing you dirty. He's, been working with the FBI and all this sort of stuff. And Vesco's like, kind of like, yeah, like all the best criminals have their hands in some sort of government something. Liz Keene, Dembe's got a badge. Oh, yeah, I know. I know what's going on. And
Yeah.
of course, Wujing's like, no, you don't know actually what's going on, where basically he's trading all of us to this task force to get, what he wants, sort of thing. We're all just, currency in his game. It goes a lot deeper than that. And it's sort of like, at this point, I was wondering why Wujing wasn't pulling the shoot on this. I think his biggest downfall is that he thinks that everybody wants revenge like he does. That because he was so hurt by the idea that Reddington is part of this task force and he's trading everybody out for, currency to get what he wants, that he thinks everyone else on this list is going to be as mad as he is. And that's not going to be the case. So I was kind of like sitting there after Vesco was like, well, yeah, everybody's got their hands in the government if they're like a real career criminal and they have a huge empire, they have to have people on the inside. That was the moment that I was like, oh, Wujing's going to pull the shoot on this.
Yeah.
He knows that he can't actually get Vesco, but he didn't.
This is what's going on here. This is the, maybe I'm terribly wrong and maybe I'm giving Wujing way too much credit, but this is the theory that I'm kind of rolling with. I think your theory is correct. I think that this is Vesco and Reddington have figured something out. We didn't see the scene where, Vesco really reacted to what Reddington's done face to face. And I think the reason is Vesco was like, okay, I will go along with this. I will be your double agent. I've got a lot of history with Reddington. Why would I betray him, even though I may be unhappy with what he chose to do, which understandable. But I think when you're Wujing, the question has to be when Vesco comes back and he's just sort of like, yeah, sure, let's do this. Let's work together. It's a terrible Vesco. But like at that point, shouldn't Wujing be like, wait, so you had a conversation with Reddington about this? He admitted this stuff? He let you go? Like that would be sort of the first red flag I would have about all of this, unless we are getting the double cross here, where here's what's going on. Wujing knows that Vesco is probably a double agent with Reddington, because I've got to believe he's got to be like, why did Reddington let him come back here? So with that in mind, I sort of suspect that we're going to see Wujing intentionally feed bad information to Robert. This is going to go off the rails really, really badly, and it's going to be set up in a situation where not only does Vesco get killed, but Vesco is going to get killed in front of Reddington or some sort of direct way, so where Red really, I think, feels the pain of what's going on here even more. And I think he's going to look back at this and sort of be like, okay, well, why didn't I see this double cross coming? Even though I think there's kind of a state of emotional panic. I don't think anyone is thinking that clearly at this point.
I thought Vesco was going to die right there. When he came back and he was like, hey, yeah, so I went and spoke to Reddington and yeah, he admitted everything and now I'm back here. I thought that was it. I thought Wujing was just gonna boom, it's done. Like, no way are you gonna go talk to Reddington. Reddington's gonna admit everything, and Vesco's gonna be like, all right, cool, well, thanks for letting me know, and I'll see you later. Like, it's so weird.
I think it's made even weirder by sort of the question of how much research has Vesco really done? And I mean, not so much in terms of like Reddington the criminal. I'm sure he has plenty of contacts, a lot of ways to find out about his various exploits, but about Reddington the person. Like, how much does Wujing really know about, what he stands for, the exact history he has of people like Vesco? I'm not sitting here and saying Wujing knows Reddington's true identity. I certainly don't think that's the case, but I think his his big weakness in the end may be that he misunderstands or just doesn't estimate Reddington properly as sort of a social threat. So even with this potential double cross that we're sort of talking about here, there's still a scenario where maybe Reddington knows that Wujing is going to could this be the rare double cross that we are going? This is going to be both confusing and possibly hilarious depending on how all this shakes out.
Well, it probably is going to be a double cross, because I mean, Reddington's going to come out on top. He always does. So, I mean, even if, you know, they of course seem to be setting up that Reddington's not going to make it out of this season alive from all the sort of promos and talk and everything that's been going on, I think he's still going to have a win out of this. He's going to end up beating Wujing.
Yeah, and I think a part of Wujing's other weakness is I think he's really going to draw all of this out, because I think when we really sort of think about it, Reddington's not that well protected. You know, he's staying with people like Herbie. He's kind of floating around. You know, he's probably at least walking on the street here or there. We saw it in the premiere. So there are situations where he is vulnerable, and I think he could be taken out at almost any moment. But I think Wujing is so arrogant, and I think what Wujing really wants is he wants to see his reputation crumble, and he wants to sit back and be like, ha, 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 ha.
Absolutely. He wants to humiliate Reddington, and that's because I think he thinks that for Reddington, the thing that is the most important to him is his reputation, his sort of stories, this air about him, and to have that proof, because that's what he said to Vesco, what I'm looking for. And who knows if he's telling the truth or not. What I'm looking for is I'm looking to get sort of documentation or real solid proof that this task force exists and that Reddington is part of it.
All of this stuff I think can be really exciting, but I think that the thing that's really missing from the show right now is a little bit of the soul. And I know not everybody likes Liz. Like, that's very well established, but it's not even just...
We are not those people. We like Liz. And the back and forth with Liz and Reddington, always so good.
Yeah, it's not Liz's fault that the writers just went completely haywire with her near the end. But I just think really Liz gave Reddington a very specific sort of emotional purpose. And there was sort of that undercurrent to everything. And I think without that part of the show right now, and, you know, even with last season, we still had I got to find out the truth about exactly what happened. I think there's just not that emotional pull for Reddington right now. We don't know exactly what he's trying to protect. We don't really have that vulnerability. I mean, we went into that a little bit earlier, and I think it's making the show and the narrative just a little bit more flimsy. And it is because we're not spending that time with Reddington. We're then spending that time with random yahoos who we just do not care about at all.
Yeah. This is the final season. It needs to be like really solid when it comes to the people that all of us have been invested in for all these years. Give me more Cooper. Give me more Wrestler. Give me more Dembe. I want more Reddington. Like, really give me a final season. Like, this episode really just felt like a filler episode with some, you know, Vesco stuff that I think we all kind of knew was coming.
Yeah, well, let's cross our fingers, hope for better stuff coming up in episode 6. We will have a preview for that very, very soon. But of course, thank you guys for all your support. You know, if you do want to support us further, check out that thanks button below the video. We will see you here next time.